I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. So, thanks for coming this evening, and welcome to our Monday, August 19th, 7 p.m. meeting. Thank you again for the Pledge of Allegiance, and we're going to pass up on the public comment at the moment, so we could just jump into a presentation by Alan Sorsen. He's from the county and heavily involved in the rail trail. We had a meeting a few weeks ago, I think I mentioned, and we thought it'd be a great idea inviting him down to kind of go over the rail trail activities that are going on the Orange County side of things and what the plans are short-term and long-term for the trail itself and where it's going, etc. So without any further ado, sir, I'll turn it over to you.
Thank you. Give me 1 second to
Sure.
set up the,
You want a microphone?
oh, here we go. Just wasn't sure where to start
Can the people in the back hear?
Can you hear okay, Ben?
this. Can you hear me okay? Okay. Thanks for having me this evening. My name is Alan Sorensen, Orange County's Commissioner of Planning and Development, and I'm here to talk about Orange County's Scudamock Rail Trail project. So just a little background, I have a little slideshow there just for reference. The Scudamock Rail Trail is on the former Erie Railroad right-of-way that runs from the Moodna Trestle in Cornwall to Camp LaGuardia in the town of Chester. Our plan is to improve public transit and services by providing pedestrian and bicycle connections to existing transit facilities, while also opening up opportunities to expand service within this area of Orange County. This, when it's completed, is going to be a very beautiful rail trail. I've walked almost the entire length of it at this point. I've been to the village of Washingtonville on a number of occasions. There are 6 bridges that cross the Moodna Creek. 3 of those are right here in the village of Washingtonville. One is a truss bridge that you see there in that photo in the upper right. There's also a trough bridge here in the village, and then as you get past the Washingtonville High School, there's a bridge, a very large bridge that goes over the Moodna Creek that when we're completed, I like to think of it as it'll be Orange County's walkway over the Moodna. But I've enjoyed working on this project. We've partnered with Open Space Institute. They were successful a few years ago in closing on the property that they've acquired from Plotkin, who was the original owner. And we are in the final stretch of actually the county acquiring the property from Open Space Institute. That we've gone through our due diligence, and we'll be closing at the end of this month on the property, and anticipate that we'll be working on the design of the rail trail into engineering and detailed design beginning this fall. That'll continue into next year, and then I'm hoping that we'll be in a position to go out to bid late fall of next year, so 2025. With full construction being completed in 2026. So we have, using the Federal Transit Administration 5307 program, we've secured the $28 million for this project. It's a $28 million project. This will be a paved rail trail that will go from the Munder Trestle all the way down to Camp LaGuardia. With the funding, it's 80-10-10, so 80% FTA funds, 10% New York State DOT, and then the remaining balance was funded by the Orange County Legislature. And I have a little timeline there. I'm going to talk a little bit more about, this is just a map here to give you a sense of the relationship of the Scunnemuck Rail Trail to the Heritage Trail. So the Heritage Trail at the southern part, or the lower left part of the map, there's a buffer around the Scunnemuck Trail, so that's kind of what you see, and a larger buffer around that, so there's two buffers around that right of way. But towards the southern part of that is where the Scunnemuck Rail Trail will intersect with the Heritage Trail, and the confluence of those two trails is actually at Camp LaGuardia. So you've probably, heard various stories about Camp LaGuardia in the papers. That is now slated to become a new county park, and the county has already put in $5 million for the first phase of the cleanup of Camp LaGuardia. There's another $5 million slated for 2025, and there's actually plans underway to develop the county's new park at Camp LaGuardia. So we're going to have a very unique situation here where we have the confluence of two major rail trails at a new county park. And for the residents here in Washingtonville, you're going to have a beautiful rail trail that not only goes through the village, but also will connect you directly to the new county park. We're envisioning the Scunnemuck Rail Trail is really the second segment of a vision for a countywide bikeway that when it's completed would allow a person to get on a bike, crisscross across the county without ever having to share the road with a motor vehicle, and travel very long distances on a bike or on foot safely and free of the stress of sharing the road with a motor vehicle. So we're well on our way to achieving that vision, and the Scunnemuck Rail Trail is an important step in that process. These are just some images along the abandoned Erie Railroad, but here in the vicinity of the village of Washingtonville. So the large superstructure that you see in the upper left-hand corner, that's the bridge that crosses the Muda just beyond the high school. The ballast that you see in the images to the upper right and lower left, that's just kind of the existing conditions in the vicinity of Washingtonville. It's already getting a lot of use. People are out there utilizing it. But then you can also see the condition of the bridges, which I would characterize as a little sketchy. I've actually walked across each of those. I wouldn't encourage that. We have put up barricades to protect them, but it's kind of interesting. I mean, kids are, pretty creative. You can see where kids brought like pieces of 2x4 and plywood and slapped it together so they could get across it. But when it's done, our intent is to repurpose each of those railroad bridges, put new decking across where we need rails to protect pedestrians and bicyclists. Those will go up as well. And they are, in my view, and as a city planner, they're really beautiful structures. So we want to preserve those structures and repurpose them. And then over by Nichols Street is there's actually an existing whistle stop that was there. So you just see the letter W on that post that's in that photo. That was a whistle stop. So what happened when the railroad was active, when the trains would get close to an intersection with a road, they would blow their whistle, alert drivers, that train was coming and that they were going to cross that street. So there are a few of those along the right-of-way that I've identified when we're out in the field. One of the reasons, we're able to secure the federal funding is we are looking at this as not only a recreational trail, but truly a trail that will invite residents to use it for commuting. There is a Coach USA bus stop here in the village. So that's one of our nodes where people could interconnect, take a bike to that vicinity, take a bus long distance and vice versa. When we get over to the Moon and Trestle, we're very close to Salisbury Mills train station. We got a little work ahead of us to make a formal connection between the rail trail and Salisbury Mills, but there are some options that we're exploring on that. That'll be like a phase 2 of this project. We're looking at in the more where we identify heavier traffic, actually going with a 16-foot wide split use trail. So if you look at the image in the upper right hand corner, there would be 2 dedicated bike lanes, 5 feet wide each, and then a dedicated 6-foot pedestrian path. There'll also be a shoulder, a grass shoulder on either side of the trail, but the 16-foot width would just be in the more, not that Washingtonville is urbanized, but more urbanized areas where there might be higher traffic. And then as we get into the rural areas, we'll come back to a 12-foot width. There's a pretty significant stretch of rail from, when you get beyond the high school, there's quite a long stretch there where there's not much in between. But it is very beautiful country as that trail goes through. As I mentioned earlier, it's part of our bikeway vision of creating a fully separated bike pedestrian pathway throughout the county. We're also concurrently working on a segment in the southern part of the county. We own a 7.8 mile right away from Unionville up to Slade Hill. We're hoping to acquire a segment from Slade Hill to Middletown that would also then intersect with the Heritage Trail. So if we get that part completed, I'm envisioning, I'm gonna say like 5 or 7 years down the line. These things take time, but you might be able to take a bike from Washingtonville and go all the way to the New Jersey border and never share that path with a motor vehicle. So it's, I think, pretty unique. Maybe like 10, 20, 30 miles uninterrupted bike lane. This is just another map just kind of showing the context of the Scudamoke Rail Trail with the Heritage Trail. There's some other opportunities we're exploring about taking this trail further north, ultimately with the goal of getting either to Cornwall or to the city of Newburgh. And there's some, again, those segments would require additional right-of-way acquisition. And I thought I'd throw this in. This is very preliminary plans for Camp LaGuardia. So as you can see, when the Scudamoke Trail comes down, there's actually a Y at the base, so that would intersect with the Heritage Trail. At Camp LaGuardia, we're looking at a variety of multi-purpose athletic fields, some pavilions, playgrounds, a campground, and nature trails. That is a 217-acre property, so there's a lot of potential uses there. And we're in the middle now of developing a master plan for Camp LaGuardia. So that's another project that's going to happen. And I guess I'll pause here, and if there are any questions or comments, things I can clarify, happy to do so.
Any questions for anybody? If you could just state your name and address, please.
Ruth Mannion, 16 Sayer Road, Blooming Grove. When do you expect the Camp LaGuardia project to be finished?
I think the initial stages, it's already going through cleanup. Next spring, will be a second round of cleanup, removal of some of the abandoned buildings and whatnot. And I do think by the fall of next year, some of what you see at the very bottom of that map, like multipurpose fields and whatnot, and the initial parking areas, we're hoping to have those available next year. Now, the long-term build-out is probably going to, that's going to be a longer-term effort. I could see the campground and some of the other amenities going in, 2 or 3 years down the line. But it was a monumental task just for the cleanup. The county's investing, over $10 million just on that aspect of the project. But again, it's a unique property. It's where these two rail trails intersect. And it's like really the perfect location for a new county park.
I think it's wonderful. I'm excited about it.
Thank you. I think this gentleman has,
Yeah, that's fine.
it's your meeting. I'm
No, go
sorry.
ahead, you got the floor.
Paul Line, 10 Patriot Lane. Thank you for coming, first of all.
You're welcome.
And I saw you proposed e-bikes. Is there gonna be a limit to the size? By the time it's completed, e-bikes are gonna be bigger and better, so we're not gonna have motorized vehicles, but some of the e-bikes are,
Yeah, in terms of how we manage that, that's still internally an issue that's come up for discussion, with parks and planning. There's kind of two trains of thought on that. One is like, just prohibit e-bikes, but the reality is on the Heritage Trail, there's people on e-bikes all the time, so then you get into enforcement issues, so we're trying to work that out. Some communities have like set, like speed limits on the e-bikes. The one thing that I was thinking as we were planning the wider width, to have dedicated bike lanes, was just the reality that people are probably gonna be on e-bikes. So we wanted to have a safe area for pedestrians to walk, even people who aren't on e-bikes, some avid bicyclists are flying down the Heritage Trail at a pretty good clip. So it's just the nature of walking, I think. If I'm out walking the trail, you tend to be looking around and not really as aware of your surroundings as you should be. And a bicyclist is just like, I want to get from point A to point B, and they're zipping through. And then you have the other added issue of, some people are listening to their headphone and they're not hearing passing on the left, So I figured where we know there's going to be a lot of traffic, let's try to provide a little more width to safely accommodate that traffic. Yes.
Yes, I'm Jean Golly of Route 94 Blooming Grove. So the current rail trail, or the old railroad bed, is literally in my backyard.
Oh,
And
okay.
I can tell you, my son and all his friends used to ride their dirt bikes.
Ah.
Yeah, and they still do, not using Gordon now, but you can hear the kids
Yeah.
still using it. My question is, will the homeowners that border the old railroad bed, will we be notified when construction starts?
Oh, yes,
Yeah.
yeah. And even as we get into the detailed design, once we have the engineering consultant on board, as we get a little further into the design, we'll come back, ask to be invited back to do a presentation in terms of, what the detailed design is accommodating. Our engineers will be out walking the trail. So yeah, we definitely are encouraging input from the adjacent property owners. And, we want it to be an amenity that, everyone's happy with. So.
I mean, currently, there's a lot of wildlife, the property behind that. The property was sold, it's like 300, 400 acres that was recently sold, so that may all change, but there's a lot of amazing, there has been historically a lot of great wildlife.
Yeah, and I've observed it as well as we walked it. The one nice feature about this, because of the use, there's kind of that, natural stone dust or ballast that's there, so that gives us a good base to work from. So you know, we're gonna take a minimalist approach of, you know, just trimming, you know, where we need to, and gently grading the rail bed so that we can accommodate the path. And then, you know, we own, the minimum that we own in width is 60 feet. In some areas, it's even 100 feet wide. So, you know, we're gonna be working, you know, within, of that, at the most, where we have a 16-foot path, you know, we're looking at about 20 feet of that 60 feet, but in most cases, even less than that. Yes.
Denny, 25 Court. You have usage numbers of the Heritage Trail and a projected number, like usage percentage of this trail?
We do have usage numbers for the Heritage Trail, and I don't want to hazard a guess, but I haven't looked at them in like a year, but what we do every September, there's like a national bike count week, and we actually go out and count the trips. It's pretty substantial. I really don't want to, it's a big number. I anticipate with this, we'll probably get similar numbers, and then I think when we add the county park on top of that, I do think, you know, both for local residents, but also the more that we add to the bikeway, I think the more of a regional attraction it becomes. But like from Camp LaGuardia up to 94, I mean, there's a few homes in between, but it's pretty remote. It's actually, it's gonna be, I think, very unique in that respect. It's a beautiful area back there. Oh, yeah.
Kate Amity, Woodcock Mountain. I want to thank you so much for the energy that you've put into this after it's lain fallow for so many decades, really. It's
No,
wonderful
thank
what
you.
have done.
It's, just a little side story. Many years ago when I was APA New York Metro Hudson Valley West Director, I was taking a train from Middletown into the city, and this was 2014, and we're coming over the Moon Trestle, and as I normally do, I'm looking out the window, and I saw this rail bed, and I'm like, oh my God, you know, at that time, I was working on the town of Chester's comp plan, and I said, I wonder if that goes up to Chester. Well, sure enough, I discovered it was. So it's actually in the 2015 comprehensive plan for the town of Chester, of developing a rail trail along this bed. So when I, you know, started with Orange County in 2020, I was excited to kind of pick that idea up and run with it. So yeah, no, thank you so much. This is kind of what I live for, to make these things happen. So.
It's particularly amazing that you have the bravery to deal with our 6 bridges, because when you look at them, you would think nobody would ever want to do anything with them. And it's wonderful that you are.
Thank you. Yeah, they're beautiful structures. One thing I noticed, like even on the truss bridges, there's like 3 different engineering designs of they're not identical. They look very similar, but when you look at them from an engineering perspective, the one up by Ores Mills Road the deck is actually suspended from the superstructure on these springs. So which is completely different than the one that's here by Nichols. So from a distance, they look very similar, but when you get up close, you realize, so it's just interesting. So we'll probably do some like interpretive kiosks by each of the bridges, you know, just provide a little background on how they were constructed and the error and things of that nature. Ma'am, do you have a
Yeah,
question?
Edie Johnson. I haven't seen you for a while. I saw a
Yes.
lot of you at the comprehensive plan in Chester.
That's it,
Yeah.
thank you,
Thank
yes.
you for coming. And this has been a dream of mine and a lot of other people for 20 years, so.
Oh, Edie, good to see you. I mean, like, I see so many people in different contexts, and like I recognize the face. So thank you for that. And yeah, I mean that and Camp LaGuardia.
Yeah. And I have about 6 things on my list here. I'll try and
Oh,
go through
okay.
them real quick.
Okay.
The first is as far as the entrance on Route 208,
Okay.
where there's, there's gonna be a lot of changes there, but as it is now, it's gonna be difficult for parking and stuff, and I wondered if, because when we walked it, we went through Fulton Square, where it's really inviting, and maybe there'd be a second entrance across there onto it.
I think I think there will be. Yeah, we're gonna be, when we get into the detailed design, we'll be designating other trailheads. Yes. So, yeah.
Depot building.
Yeah, by the depot building, where the depot used to be too.
Yeah, exactly,
Yeah.
yes.
Secondly, is my understanding correct that with the Woodbury new piece that was attained about 5-6 months ago, that eventually, as this comes through from the Heritage Trail and up to the Trestle and up Shiny Monk, it will eventually, it goes to the other 2 trails up there that go to New Jersey and the Allegheny Trail. We will essentially be a part of the Allegheny Trail.
Yeah, yes, that's the vision. Yeah, we're getting closer. We're getting closer. Yeah.
Third, I haven't had a chance to ask at the town yet whether or not there's been any, Johanna, I don't know if you've heard anything yet about whether the zoning on the Blooming Grove part of the property has been addressed yet?
Are you talking about Camp LaGuardia or?
Yeah,
I am not sure. So I'll have to inquire and report back to you on that.
Fourth, I know that with that fantastic equestrian stable up in Salisbury Mills, he had, about a year ago, he was interested in trying to seek a short parallel trail that would be equestrian available. I don't know if anything else has come up about that yet or not.
It hasn't, but when we get into the design phase, that's something that we can take a look at.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The equestrian community was pretty upset that we were promised, it's gotta be 10 years ago, a nice equestrian trail
Yeah.
over the equestrian center and everything, and they're just worse people, never mind. But it
Yeah.
would be nice.
It's certainly something we can look into. I can't promise that will be in there,
Yeah.
but there probably are stretches along it where it makes a great deal of sense.
Oh, that'd be great. I know he was gonna do a cross-country course there as well. And the property that used to be Penning's across the street was gonna get developed for supported uses for
Okay.
tourists and stuff. And then I think this last one is, do you have a digital copy of any of that?
I have this PowerPoint, so I can make that available.
Awesome,
Yeah.
thank you.
Oh, you're welcome. Yeah. Sir,
Well, one of my questions I think was answered, but I'm not sure. I was curious about parking, so that was the thing. You know, Chester, Goshen, Monroe all have a set-aside parking areas.
yeah.
So are you envisioning something in the village or outside the village center itself? Because the village center parking is a problem.
Yeah, no, we have, as I mentioned, there are certain areas where, even within the village, where we have 100-foot width. So we can easily accommodate parking for a trailhead. So when we get the engineers on board, we'll be looking within the village to provide some trailheads. We just acquired a piece right at the Moodna Trestle that's adjacent from Plotkin. It's 2.6 acres, so there'll be a trailhead there off of Orrs Mill Road. And then there's, I think, right in the little hamlet of Salisbury Mills, there's actually a very large contiguous parcel that we own that would make for a nice trailhead. So yes, we'll be looking for multiple trailheads along the trail so that people, can easily find parking, but also if they want to do one segment, one visit, and then come back and do another segment, they can do that. So that's where we are now.
One other quick comment. I'm Bill Graber from Washington Boulevard, by the way. I always thought this to be somewhat of a conspiracy, but there was an ice cream stand in Goshen and Chester and Monroe within a short walk from the terminus, so I assumed it would be someplace near Weirs.
Probably, yeah.
Should get Weirs and chicken.
Something about biking and ice cream will go together nicely. Am I good for time?
No, you're good. Yeah.
Nope.
One of the things you didn't mention was Sky Mountain State Park, that
Oh,
you
yeah.
also would be connected to, and that
Yes.
has been an undeveloped park, but recently, since they had a new manager, they quadrupled the size of the parking lot, and if you look, it's been inundated with people on the weekends, so the people are parking in the middle of the parking lot, and now there are plans to develop it and put in a bathroom or two there, believe it or not,
Yeah.
and expand the
And
parking lot
trails.
again. So that's a good thing.
That's a nice connection,
Yeah.
yeah.
I wanted to mention a couple of other things. One is that there was a railroad station for the railroad to the left of the shopping, the little mall that you talked about, the Fulton Square, I think it is.
Yeah.
And Russell Halleck found a plan for that, an architectural plan for the original one, and he gave it to the previous mayor, who was an architect.
Really?
And I wonder if that could be dug up, if anybody would be interested in maybe getting a grant to rebuild the little station house again.
I would be very interested in those drawings. Many years ago, I secured a grant up in Sullivan County for a rail trail up there. And actually using the original drawings for the Mountaindale train station, we built a 1/3 replica of a train station that actually was proposed to be built, it was never built, and that building is now the visitor center in Mountaindale. So we use that exact approach. So, you know, just respect the history of the right-of-way and the railroad, and so that, if you have those drawings, I'd be interested in seeing those.
The previous mayor should have them. So
Yeah,
that
make a
burned down,
note,
actually.
follow
There were
up on that.
plans to develop it many years ago. Some of the people here may have been part of that. I wasn't, but it burned down. But you can still see little parts of it to the left.
I think I saw some of the remnants of the
Yeah.
foundation there, yeah. Oh, yes.
So this might be not in this subject, but, you know, the big property that Casaza owns right on 208, you know, there, that big field that, I don't know what's going on with that. I mean, I always thought that would be a beautiful park, you know, like maybe Goshen has, when, you know, on Silesian, you know, they have that nice park in town, and, you know, that would be, I mean, I don't know what's going on with that, but I always thought that would be a nice park, you know, for
It's some-
parking lot too, you know, it's right near there.
It's
But
something-
I don't know what's going on with that, but I just was asking
Oh,
about that.
yeah, I'm not familiar with any plans, but something, you know, I'll look into it.
I can make a comment about that.
Oh, okay, please.
So we're currently working with a planner, because we're in a moratorium, and we are having discussions with our village board. Since we are rezoning some areas, cleaning up some of the language, making decisions on what we're going to actually zone that parcel for. It's 150 acres, only about half of that is buildable. So we're having ongoing dialogues every other week with our planner.
That would be beautiful.
We have several different, you know, types of ideas that we're going back and forth with. I mean, ultimately it will be some type of a mixed zone. You know, it's not gonna be one thing. But these are the conversations that we're having.
The area that you mentioned, I'm not exactly clear where it is, where you said it was really beautiful and not developed at all.
Yeah,
So is there, how will that be prevented from being developed?
it's very remote, And there's, but in addition, there, and it's a stretch where there really aren't any other roads into the area, and there are
Yeah.
environmental constraints. So between those three, I think there's a reason it hasn't been developed over those years. When the railroad was built, they just kind of like blasted through the swamp and, you know, brought in, I'm just being honest, and brought in fill. So, you know, we're above all of that with the existing rail bed. So on either sides of it, it's, it would, difficult or impossible to go alongside it, so.
From your lips.
One more quick thing. I had the opportunity to go cover a press conference with Pat Ryan about a little over a year ago. It's my first time up by Kingston. And I was struck by how inviting the trailheads were there when you put bright painted arrow pictures and stuff.
Yeah.
I've been envisioning for the past year that we would get somebody to help carve a totem pole with an arrow sent around. And everybody could put a little paint on it so it belonged to everyone. My grandfather used to bring his horses up here to Cornwall on the train.
Okay.
Okay, I wasn't gonna ask, but I'm gonna ask. So there's a small piece of property in Washingtonville, it's Naomi Sewell Richardson Park, right there on Main Street. And you were describing the walkway over the Movement Bridge, that,
Yeah.
right? You can see that bridge from that piece of property.
Okay,
So,
yes.
I believe you can, right? I'm not like losing my mind. I
Yeah.
thought I saw something out there. So my question to you is this. I know there's a lot of monies that are out there, as Ella interested in last week, and as we talked about it. Would we be able to apply for some funds? I mean, in a way, it kind of is all part of this greening of the county, and the park will be looking out on a piece of the trail.
Yeah.
It's across the street from the middle school, you visualize exactly where the property is.
Okay,
Three
yeah.
houses that were lost, Superstore, Sandy,
Okay.
and Irene.
It's something, I'd have to take a closer look.
Yeah, we found through Helen when we had met a couple of weeks ago, and it just actually came out. There is an Orange County open space grant, and
No,
we're
no,
gonna
we're
apply
not.
for that,
Yes, I
so
know, they, so,
hopefully.
but we can for this.
Mhm.
So,
Yeah.
Yeah,
but it wouldn't be through you, it would be through somebody else.
No, that's through our office as well.
Okay, good, that's all.
Okay.
oh boy.
Johanna Kiernan, Mount Lodge Park and Town Council Blooming Road. Excellent questions everybody raised. I was checking them off, so I don't have to ask them.
Okay.
But I would be amiss if I didn't bring up three things very quickly. Some of my gardener friends asked about native and wildflower gardens along it, where local communities could maintain those. So that was one idea that was thrown out at me. I was also asked about the possibility of cross-country skiing when the weather is really cold and possible for that.
Yes.
Because I know you have every area designated already, and you wouldn't want to have that conflict. Friends go over to the golf course and do their cross-country skiing there, as well as further upstate. So just to throw that in there.
Okay.
And I too would like a copy of the presentation. And the last one is, Edie had brought up the idea of a totem, and I spoke to some of my friends up on the mountain there who are related to the Lenapes, and they suggested, could we have one that had to do with the Lenape Indians, the native Indians. So, and that's it, that's enough.
Okay, I like all three of those ideas. The cross-country skiing, that's absolutely, will be permitted along there. I like the idea of the totem, I have to explore that a little bit. And I do envision that somehow we'll have art incorporated along this trail. That's, want to have that be part of, you know, maybe it's at the trailheads, maybe it's somewhere along the way. And of course, you know, interpretation and history, so.
One more thing, kiosks, Jay Beaumont, I'm sure would love to do with you.
Oh, yes, yeah,
I
yeah.
work with him on the Movement Council, and we've done, I think, about 7 so far.
Yeah, those are wonderful. Yes.
Yes, with information about the local areas as you walk down.
Yeah, we'll have local areas and some kiosks about the history of the railroad and, all that stuff. Okay. I know you have other business this evening.
No, it's fine. No, it's good. Great conversation.
I'll send the PowerPoint
Sure.
tomorrow, and I'll just sign out of this.
Yeah, you can, actually, you can leave everything, just take your stick, because we have another presentation.
Okay.
And if you send that off to us, if anybody wants to leave your email address with Christine before you leave, we'll forward it off to you, if that's okay with everybody.
Couldn't you post it on the village site?
And we can put it up there as well. Yep, good idea. Just cancel.
Thank you.
And fix the box, you just pull it out. It's done.
Thank you.
Easy peasy. Thanks, Al.
Oh, you're welcome.
Thank you, really appreciate you coming down.
Have a good evening.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
All right, our next agenda item was, we're just gonna jump to the treasurer's report. It's a financial update. And Leslie will be giving that out in a minute.
I didn't see you hear me, not very loud speaker.
Test it, just make sure the battery's okay.
It's dead as a doorknob.
That thing does it.
Wait,
Nobody likes it.
they can't hear me.
It's on.
There's no battery.
That's fine, I'll try to talk loud, like when I'm home with the kids.
Somebody left it on.
Use your outside voice.
I'll use my, my mom needs.
We haven't used that. It was in the 9-volt. You can start. Yeah, please do.
Okay, so I'm just gonna highlight some of the revenues and expenditures for, this is just for the general fund, and it's for the period, this fiscal year, so March 1st through July 31st. So I'm just highlighting some of the major revenue sources, what is for the budget and the actual through July 31st. So the first one is property taxes. The adopted budget had $4,692,956. Actual collected through July 31st has been $4,432,160. So there's a variance of $268,796. So that's the uncollected piece. The next one is sales tax. Budgeted was $1,160,000. Actual through July 31st. $570,863, and that variance is $589,137. The utilities gross receipt, adopted budget was $65,000, actual through July is $36,603, variance of $28,397. Franchise fees, budget was $121,000. Actual through July, $106,857, variance of $14,153. The Washingtonville Central School District, the SRO, adopted budget $268,876. Actual $114,971, a variance of $153,905. And the mortgage tax, budgeted at $110,000, actuals $107,922. And the variance is $2,078. This next slide just summarizes the previous slide. So the $260,000 of uncollected taxes, some collections are still coming in slowly. But by November, we remit to the county anything uncollected, and they make us whole, usually at the beginning of the next fiscal year. The sales tax, the variance of 589, that represents, there's 2 more quarters to be collected. So with the 2 quarters collected, we're looking pretty close to what we budgeted for $1,160,000. The utilities gross receipts, that is from, we get quarterly payments from O&R, it's a percentage of their gross receipts. There's 2 more quarters to be collected. Again, based on what we've got to date, we're projected to come close to what we budgeted for. Franchise fees, that's a fee we get from Charter Communications. So we're, there's a 2 more quarters left for that. So based on that, we're gonna, again, be close to what we budgeted for. And then the SRO, the period that we've collected is from, March 1st through June. So we still have September to February to collect. And based on past collections, we should be pretty close to what we budgeted for. And then the mortgage tax, we get 2 payments in, one in May and one in November. So we've gotten the May payment in, so we're due 1 more payment in November. The next slide is summarizing the expenses. It's by function. So in each of these categories, there's multiple, specific line items. So the first one is general support. That represents the justice court, the finance department, the clerk, the board and the mayor, legal, and the insurance. So adopted budget was $941,000. Actual through July is $371,000, and there's a variance of $569,000. Public safety, that represents the police department. Adopted budget is $2,471,000. Actual through July, $913,241, a variance of $1,557,000. Transportation, that represents our DPW, maintenance of roads, snow removal. Adopted budget $995,000. Actual through July, $327,000. Variance of $668,000. Culture and recreation, that represents the parks, budgeted at $70,900. Actual through July, $44,296. Variance of $26,604. Home and community represents the beautification throughout the village. We budgeted $34,500. Actual to through July is $3,456. The variance of $31,000. And the employee benefits, that's the retirement expense for the employees in the police, workers' comp insurance, and the medical and dental insurance, budgeted at $1,846,000. Actual through July, $430,000. So there's a variance of $1,415,000. And then these are just some highlights, again, for the fiscal year. The first bullet represents since October of 2023, I know there's been discussions about all the EFC money. The village has received $597,000 from EFC for reimbursements from the prior years for the expenditures on the wastewater treatment plant. And the village is still owed approximately $442,000 from EFC. We are still obviously working on all of our audits to get up to date. We just received the February 28th, 2021 audit from PKF O'Connor Davies. We're currently reviewing that with the outside consultant, PST, and we should have that finalized over the next few weeks. And then the external auditors will be starting the February 28th, 2022 audit. BST, the outside consultant, has started the work for the February 28th, 2023 audit. And once he's done, he'll submit all that to PKF, and then they will start work on that. And the next slide, we're currently working with our bond counsel and financial advisors to prepare for the renewal of the deficit financing note, which is coming due in October. To To date, this is through February 20th, 2022. The cumulative deficit for the village is $1,244,000. So as the audits are completed, that number obviously will be updated. So once the audit is done for February 20th, 2023, that number will most likely go up for the discussion with BST. The New York State Comptroller's Office is wrapping up their field work. Once we receive their reports, we have the opportunity to respond to all their findings. And then once that report is finalized, it'll be made available to the public.
Questions?
Yeah, Bill Graver, Washington Boulevard. Thank you for this, the commentary was good, but I would appreciate if in the future you could have some like a utilization column for the expenditures to date.
Okay.
So the deficit might be 569, but that doesn't really tell us if we're on target or not for the year.
Okay.
Okay. And the other question I have, is this on an accrual basis or cash basis?
Accrual basis.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Excellent. Anyone else, any questions? Okay, thank you, Leslie.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
No problem.
All right, so we'll shift back to the agenda for any comments on agenda items. Okay, no comments, we'll jump right into the announcements and discussions. Obviously, we've already had 1 and 2 completed. Again, thank you very much, Leslie, for
Thank you.
getting them together. As Leslie mentioned in the presentation, the EFC disbursement, we just recently did receive an additional $202,000, and there is still an outstanding balance of the $441. But we have been able to, and we're just waiting for further confirmations, but our bond attorneys and bond, our counsel, working along with us have, and we talked about this over the last several months since last year, that our goal was to try to get all that money back. And we had big conversations with the higher-ups of the EFC in New York State. Basically, they came back, surprisingly, and they said because of our due diligence and the reporting and the documentation that we had submitted to get the $600 and something thousand back, that we sent them what we could find as far as canceled checks were concerned, any other documentation on that 442. They came back and said that they have discussed it and they will reimburse us that $442,000 in addition. So all in all, we're waiting for the final number to recap it. But we have now, I want to say at least safely, that we have now recaptured all those disbursements that were due to the village since 2020. So that's very good news. And we'll keep you posted as we receive information. We completed the paperwork for the disbursement. As you know, we had a grant for the police department UTV vehicle, which we've received and it's been in service. Paperwork's been completed and sent up to New York State, so we can now get reimbursed on those costs that we had to outlay. Because that's just the way the grants work. You gotta be approved on the grant, purchase it with your own money, then fill out the paperwork, post, and then they reimburse you for those dollars. So that's good work, and Chief, thanks very much, and you guys for putting in the efforts to get that grant through. It was wonderful. Trees for Trib program, we've discussed this a little bit, but a little bit more concrete right now. At Sewell Park on Saturday, September 28th at approximately 9:45 a.m. They'll be there a little bit earlier. So at Sewell Park, we'll be planting trees, approximately 117 trees and shrubs. So I know Jean is helping on that side with volunteers. We'll be posting it if anybody wants to come out and help. We're going to pre-drill these holes during the week, just prior to Saturday, so the holes are dug. We're going to have some topsoil down there. to give these plants a better chance. And that soil that's down there is pretty rough and not very friendly. So that'll be happening on that particular, that morning. So if anybody's interested, please let us know.
Oh, excuse me.
I'm sorry?
One other thing, Walden Savings Bank has been kind to offer and let us use their offices, their conference room for meetings and stuff.
Okay,
We're gonna put a sign-up sheet there as well, promotional,
okay,
and we'll do the same thing here.
Good.
Along with what we're doing on
wonderful. That's great.
the volunteers.
Yeah, we'll post it out there as well, put it on the socials and everywhere else. Actually, we have to work on that poster. Okay. So that's great. Next is another piece of nice news is that the veteran banners are catching on and applications are coming in pretty heavily. Some people are coming in with 5, 3, 2, and then they find out that they have another relative and they're going back out and they're coming in with another application. So we have another 14, actually, we just got 2 more today, so there'll be a total of 16 new banners that will be created. We're looking at the proofs actually today, checking spelling and titles of their involvement in the wars, etc. And so there'll be another 14 flags or banners coming our way for installation, so that's wonderful. The board is going to be, or at least I signed up at the moment, I sent the invitation out, but there's a 2024 Economic Summit in Newburgh on September 20th that we'll be attending. And that again is for all board members, whoever is available to attend. Let's see. Just catching up to myself here. Next is an application, I think everybody's aware by now, but the village board is acting ARB, and we have a sign application for 16 East Main Street. Name of the business is going to be called Balance Body Work and Spa. That's the location of where the old building for What a Village Wants, Sonia's business. So there's a spa kind of setup that will be going in there. So we're just in the process of reviewing your signs and so forth, and that will probably be voted on, I guess, at the next meeting, because we had some questions on color and some other things that they had put on their application. Next is just a notice of a village-wide garage sale that's going to be scheduled for September 28th and 29th between 8 and 4. Again, as similar as we've done in the past, anybody who's interested, there is a sign up because they do post, whoever signs up, your location, you're free to do that, or just have your garage sale, yard sale, however you want to set it up. So that'll be happening in September. An update on the pickleball courts. We will be looking at extending the area for 3 new courts. That area has been extremely busy. The feedbacks have been really, really good, both from amateurs and the professionals. So we're very excited about moving forward and continuing with the other side of that paved area and or unpaved area, and get that up to speed with the other side. So that's our goal. Steve is starting to pull all of that together so we can get that completed. It would be wonderful to get it in by fall if that's doable. Also, there are a couple of professional people, 2 or 3 that I know off the top of my head, that have offered their services for people who are never played pickleball before, to teach them the rules and the game and stuff like that. So I know Ken has been meeting, he's already had 2 home classes, and I think he's got a couple of more lined up. So if you're interested, I think we posted it, and maybe we can just repost it, because there's 2 more dates in September, is it?
September,
Okay.
it's on the website.
Yeah, it's on the website if you're interested, so make yourself available for that. I think it's between either 8 and 9 or 9 and 10, generally speaking. So we get that going. Does the board, anybody have any announcements or anything that they would like to add at this point? Okay, if not, we'll jump into the resolutions. Resolution 240118 to accept Collier Proposal for the Sewell Park Engineering floodplain management not to exceed $17,500. Have a motion?
Motion.
Second? Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes 5-0. Good night, everybody. Take care, good night.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Have a good night. Resolution 240119 to authorize revised facilities use request form for the Washingtonville Swim Team Car Wash date to be held on Sunday, September 8th from 8:30 a.m. to 1:30 p.m. at Veterans Memorial Park. That original date was Sunday, August 25th. Have a motion?
Motion.
Second? Questions, discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes, thank you. Resolution 240120 to authorize the employment of Scott Cooper as a part-time building inspector with 20 hours work week effective August 19, 2024, at an hourly wage of $27 per hour. Have a motion?
Motion.
Have a second?
Second.
Discussion? All in favor?
Does that reduce our IMA with the booming growth?
Pardon?
Does that reduce the IMA, balance? Or-
No, not at this point. And we can talk about it a little bit, after, during the other comments. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes 5-0. Resolution 240121 to reschedule the village board regular meeting from Monday, September 2nd to Wednesday, September 4th due to the Labor Day holiday. Motion?
Motion.
Second. Discussion? We're moving it to Wednesday, not Tuesday, because Tuesday night is court. So normally it would be the day after, so we're going there. Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes 5-0. Thank you. Resolution 240122 to approve public assembly permit for the Blooming Grove Chamber of Commerce 2024 Christmas Parade from Mount Vernon Park to E.J. McLaughlin Square, and after event at Veterans Memorial Park to be held on Saturday, December 7th from 5 p.m. to 10 p.m. Have a motion?
Motion.
Second?
Second.
Discussion?
Is this pending insurance certificate?
No, that was received.
Okay.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Motion passes 5-0. Resolution 240123 to approve public assembly permit for the Washingtonville Events Committee Whoville Vendor Market at Veterans Memorial Park on Saturday, December 7th from 8 a.m. to 4 p.m. Have a motion?
Motion.
And we have a second from Steve. Discussion?
I have a question.
Go ahead.
So on the application, it says from 11 to 4 off to the side, and then McLaughlin, the permit covers part of?
What do you mean, Portland? This is Whoville, right?
Part of McLaughlin Square, or what?
Well, they said to be determined, I'm not quite sure what they were talking about. The event is 11 to 4, but the setup is before. So it's just setup time, but the 11 to 4 was the actual time of the event. Yeah.
Oh, wait, does that have anything to do with the banner, maybe? No.
No.
Because the banner's going over any?
No. Okay.
Yep.
Okay, any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes 5-0. Resolution 240125 to approve public assembly permit for the Washingtonville Events Committee for Witchingtonville Before Dark event at El Vernon Park on Sunday, October 13th from 12 p.m. to 4 p.m. Setup starts at 8. Have a motion? Vernon, have a second, please? Steve, any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes 5-0. Thanks. Resolution 240126 to approve public assembly permit for Washingtonville events for the Witchingtonville After Dark event at E.J. McLaughlin Square in Veterans Memorial Park on Saturday, October 12th from 5 p.m. to 10 p.m. Motion?
Oh, wait, the application says the 13th.
Yeah, it's,
This says the 12th, but the application says the 13th.
we went through this morning with those guys.
And I think the 12th is,
October.
the 12th is correct. 'cause
So the
it's-
12th is after dark and 13, did that not get changed then? Yeah, the 12th is after dark, 13 is before dark. So which it is, that's right. So the application is still, you can cross that out. But I talked to Patrick and Justine today, so everything's fine as far as that goes. Thank you, good catch. Do we have a second? Someone second?
Second.
Thank you, Susan. Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes 5-0. Resolution 240127 to approve public assembly permit for the Washingtonville Events Committee for the Harvest Farmer Artesian Market at Veteran Memorial Square on Sunday, September 29th from 7 a.m. to 2:30 p.m. Motion?
Motion.
Steve, second.
Second.
You have Sue,
I'm
Donna, somebody like that. Any discussion? All in favor? Motion passes 5-0. Resolution 240128 to approve a facilities request form for the Washingtonville Little League Fall Program to be held on September 7th through November 9th, Monday through Friday from 4 p.m. to 8 p.m. and Saturdays from 8 a.m. to 4 p.m. at Woodfield Park. Motion?
Motion.
Need a second?
Second.
Vernon, any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes 5-0. Thank you. Resolution 240129 to approve Roosevelt and Cross as the village underwriters, MSRB rules G17 for the village deficit bond notes that are due in October. Have a motion? Vernon, have a second, please? Steve? Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes 5-0. Okay, resolution 240130 to approve the employee time off request form for the village department has to utilize for village employees. Motion?
Motion.
Second Vernon, discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes. Resolution 240131 to authorize budget transfers and amendments as necessary to effect the necessary transfers of funds and to pay the warrants. So I have a motion, have a second, please?
Second.
Second. So just for clarity, the A fund payments will be $229,329.88. For the water fund, $772.72. And for the sewer department will be $3,805.36. And any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes 5-0. Thank you. Next is resolution 240132 to accept the resignation of village part-time police officer Robert J. Cameretti effective August 15th, 2024. Motion?
Motion.
Steve, second. Vernon, discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes 5-0. Next, resolution 240133 to authorize the approval of intermunicipal agreement between the Village of Washingtonville and the Washingtonville School District regarding the School Resource Officer Program for Washingtonville High School, Middle School, and Taft School for 2024-2025 school year. Have a motion?
Motion.
Donna, second, Steve. Any discussion? All in favor?
Um,
Motion passes 5-0. Okay, we're at public comment, if anybody has anything. John?
Sean Hagerty, 4 Belvoir Drive. It's nice to see all the people at pickleball, but I see you want to expand it. Are you doing anything about the skateboard park, replacing the equipment that was damaged when it was taken off?
That's one. So we're looking at that space and we're trying to figure out, to be honest with you, what really to do with it. Problem that we're finding, at least shopping around for equipment, is that as we know from the last time that the original equipment was there 20-some-odd years ago, it was like $75,000.
Right.
So we don't have the $75,000 to put down, but there is other equipment that you can get cheaper. We're just concerned that we're gonna throw good money after, or bad money after good money, however that goes, because maybe the equipment won't hold up, you know, through the weather times and stuff
Well,
like
maybe
that.
you do it piecemeal, like you're maybe expanding the pickleball, maybe you buy 2 pieces now.
Yeah,
And wait a little while, instead of spending all the recreation money on pickleball.
yeah,
The town is opening up pickleball courts also,
right,
correct?
yes.
There are people that are over at the park for skateboarding, they're just going around in circles on,
Yeah.
you know, trying their ollies or whatever they call them.
Yeah, I mean, that
And that's something that should be put back. It was originally all volunteer money and labor that did that part, the same as the hockey rink.
well,
So,
it was I mean, part of it, I mean, obviously it was
A big
village
part.
monies in spend, but the money that came, the $75K for purchasing that equipment came from our recreation development fees. So that's where that came, and that's why it was kind of easy, and then we had a group of people. You know, we're finding out there's trends, right? I mean,
There's trends with
skateboarding is
pickleball
not the
also.
most popular thing anymore, it's being used. We got a good pad there, and actually I have somebody who volunteered to put together a schematic of what would work, right?
right.
So either we could use part of that area. There's been discussions amongst the board and people asking for a basketball court. And we could basically split that in half.
We could even split the park down there and have to make the other half not pickleball, because the town is opening up supposedly 6 courts soon.
Yeah,
So you wouldn't take away from the skateboard. They need to go around in big circles, as you
Yeah.
know if you're watching.
yeah.
And what was the cost of the pickleball court in total between the paving, the nets, the painting? Was that $70,000 or $80,000?
It was a little less, it was somewhere in the neighborhood of 60-ish.
That'd be a good start for,
Yeah,
if you have it to do it again, it'd be a good start for the skateboard park.
yeah. Yeah, I mean, and we have about, I think I last checked, it was like 130-some-odd thousand in rec. So we can do the pickle, and we still have some seed money to buy some equipment. It's just a matter of buying the right equipment. You know, whatever works. I'm not gonna go, whatever I buy, I've never skateboarded in my life, so I'd want somebody who does it, you know, get the kids who do it for fun and entertainment, give us an idea on the half pipes and the other things that they do, the rails, et cetera, et cetera. Because it's ready to go, we just need to get that in there.
The other thing is, I hope you don't, if you do expand the pickleball, you don't use the same contractor. You said you checked out Goshen's pickleball court and their fence was on the outside. Goshen's fence is on the inside, Cornwall's fence is on the inside, Watertown, New York, Saratoga, New York, Glens Falls, New York, Lakewood, Colorado, Golden, Colorado, these are all places I stop by, every fence is on the inside of the court.
You forgot Chester, New York, so.
I didn't look at Chester.
I
Oh,
did.
maybe that was Chester. No, I didn't go to
I
Chester.
went to Chester and I went to Goshen when I was on my way
You
out
said
there.
Goshen, because I watched the
Yeah.
meeting before I went there.
Right. No, I did.
You
And when I
didn't
was
say Chester.
driving through there, the poles that I was looking at obviously weren't the poles that were in between the big spans. And I thought it was on the outside. But,
I didn't go to Chester.
yeah,
I have
it was
no idea
there.
about
So, no, you stand corrected and that information is right. I checked with the professionals and they also said that there's no hard, fast rule, that the fence is either on the inside or it's on the outside. So if we do it again, lesson learned, that we'll move it on the inside.
that. I see,
Get it
they
done.
went back and strengthened the fence, but still,
Yeah,
it will come off again.
then we'll be back to do what we gotta do. Or if we have enough money, then, we will flip it to the other side, but there's cost to that too, because there wasn't anything out there that said it was gonna be installed on the inside. So,
The last question is the water. What is it actually costing us per man hour to read the meters? I know you say
Okay.
$58, but
So
there's more involved in it than what you've put out so far.
Well, to what level you wanna go, we talked about, I wish you stayed, but we talked about uniforms. We were just looking at village, we took a village person, we
Right.
took their salary, and it was $58, right? And then we looked at what H2O is charging at the rate of $86 or $87 an hour, okay? So those simple numbers, adding them up, say full-time, right? It takes two guys to basically do that job. It was in the neighborhood of, again, 20, 40 hours a year, 52 weeks. It's about $33,000 savings. Doing it in-house versus out-of-house.
When you put out a bid, they're charging you for the accountant to do the work, the payroll. They're charging all that. That's what $86.
But that's all driven from the state,
But that's for,
prevailing wage.
correct, but that's how they count the wages. So you're telling me what the gentleman's salary, but what is the back cost?
I have no idea.
Yeah, but that's,
Because it's prevailing wage.
that's why you're not
I'm
giving
not-
me the true numbers, because the back cost is the accountant, everything else. Uniforms, pensions, that's in it, I believe. But I'm not sure if it is, but
Yeah.
it's everything included. So you're saying 86, and it's probably more like 90, or like,
Well,
you're saying
that's-
56, it's probably more like 75
That's
or
the
80.
company. If they're gonna, we have to pay whatever that prevailing wage is. Be it if he's painting a pole, changing a pipe, doing some plumbing, whatever that is.
Right,
I don't know what their healthcare costs are. I know what our healthcare costs are.
right, they
And
know
that
what
came
their
down
costs
to
are, that's how they're
taking
charging.
that average and coming up with the $58. But if I just take that raw number of $87, we're saving about $133,000 per year.
The roads are in terrible shape. There's more sinkholes along the drainage that's not getting done. I know the guys are doing a lot of work, but it's getting worse instead of better.
Well, Sean, that's the way you might look at it, but you're right, there is more work that needs to be done than we even have money to do. And I wish I could snap my fingers and have $2 million to go pave every road. I went to a meeting the other day, and my biggest complaint was chips. They give us chips, like, oh my God, it's $1 million. This village gets $80,000, give or take a little bit, but it's in that neighborhood. What do I do with $80,000? Nothing. Nothing.
Use it on the skateboard park, then.
Can't. I love,
Wish we could.
you're gonna look good in stripes, buddy. You're gonna look good in stripes, but it's frustrating as heck, I'm telling you. And listen, we're doing Lincoln right now. So between the curbs and everything else, that total, I don't remember the total. I mean, paving was like 87, curbs were in the 70s, sidewalks, curbs, aprons, all that good stuff. We did all the drainage work ourselves. That was went out to do the drainage work on North Street. That bid came in at 160 or 170,000. So we can't even get to North Street this year, and that's very sad and frustrating. But because nothing's been done over the umpteen years, that's why you're dealing with what we're dealing with. And we want to take care of all the roads, and we're trying to prioritize them. But trust me, every time I drive down or I hit a cul-de-sac, and I'm saying it's a cul-de-sac, but it hasn't been touched also in years. And they all need to get done, I get it. And what we're trying to do is come up with paving, roads that need to be paved and milled, and roads that could go with a micro sealed finish, that the road is in good shape, it just needs to be freshened up, and you'll get another 10 to 15 years out of that road. It's, and if you see a sinkhole, let us know. We'll go to the sinkholes and do what we gotta do. But we have the
If
IM.
DPW doesn't see them, there's something, they need to get their eyeglasses checked.
Well,
They're all over the place,
sinkholes are all over the place.
by the storm drains.
Oh, yeah, I mean, that's just part of the big puzzle.
And
Absolutely.
They get worse.
Yeah, they do.
They
And we try
full
to,
patch in there and that's
and when
gone.
we try to do, we patch them until we can get to them. It's a simple, it's mathematics. I mean, I have no problem, we could raise taxes 15, 20%, and all that's gonna be going towards is roads. Because that's the way we're gonna look at this budget coming into the new year, as we look at things. Hopefully, based upon what we budgeted, by almost sometimes throwing darts at the wall, we'll know where we stand at the end of the year. If we have a good fund balance, then that's, part of that fund balance will go into roads. And we'll be able to then create that engine, that we don't need to go out and borrow $1 million like was done on Decker. Because that's now debt, and now you're paying for that. I'd rather try to manage it right, get that money, keep it in the bank, and create the fund, and say, listen, we have $1 million left over, 500 goes to roads. That would be a huge hit on a bunch of roads, and do that year after year. And whoever's next in line in this village, hope they do the same thing,
So do I.
you know? And that's why you're here, and we're all here, and we spend as much time as we do.
But I still haven't got the answer, how you figured out the difference in pay.
It's it. I did.
It's not a
It's
straight up
simple.
answer of what their salary is.
How do you,
It's
what
their
do you
benefits
what do you want me
and-
to do with the $87? Because that's just prevailing wage. So you want me to
That's not
know?
prevailing, if that's what the company's charging you, 87. The worker's not getting that. That's paying his benefits and everything else.
So what's
His
the bottom line?
transportation, his gas to get there, his uniforms if he has it, his medical coverage. And that's what I'm looking for. I can't believe you're saving, now it's up to $135,000 to save.
With two guys working full-time, 5 days a week, replacing meters.
Reading meters, I'm missing out.
Well, meter work, reading meters, changing meters.
Now you're
Okay.
changing something. Go ahead,
Okay.
I've had enough.
Well, we can go back. If you want, I'll ask H2O for their breakdown of prevailing wage and their benefit package.
You go to a repair shop and you get something done, they're gonna charge you for oil they use, they're gonna charge you 5 drops of this, silicone, whatever.
Right.
If you know how to, you supposedly were in business, I don't know
Right.
what business. You don't give anything away for free.
Right.
Everything has a penny or 10 cents, it's all added in.
So, auto guy charges you $120, $120 an hour for labor. I don't know his uniform costs, I don't know what he's putting away for
You
retirement.
don't need to, you just accept
Well, that's
the
my
job.
point with
I'm
the
asking you.
prevailing wage, I don't know.
Ask him.
I just know
That's
we.
exactly what they charge us, is the 87 an hour.
That's
Right, and what I'm saying is that's all inclusive of every expense they have, accounting, bookkeeping, whatever.
We don't know. They don't tell us that. They just tell us how much it is.
I'll ask him,
Yeah.
I'll talk to Chris tomorrow, I'll see if I can get that number.
Right,
We'll break this down, we'll get to the bottom of this stuff.
right, it's a different
Yeah,
story.
Vinny.
Lee Lang, Plymouth Rock, back to the building inspector, part-time village, so that's not gonna reduce our cost for the IMA with the building growth, correct?
No,
Any status update on our current building inspector?
no,
Only-
nothing that we can discuss,
Any
if it's
future
legal.
dates?
Pardon?
Any public hearing dates set for that?
No,
Military banners, great idea, I love it. Who maintains those banners? We do?
us,
If there's damage to a banner, what happens?
we, depending on what happens to it, if a bracket breaks, we get another bracket,
Are those American flags our flags?
yes.
There's a couple of them, they've been up there since Memorial Day, they gotta come down.
Yeah, well, they normally, we bought, I'm trying to remember, was it this year or last year? Well, we bought new flags to replace some really older and.
Some of them are in the wires.
Yeah, I mean, if they're damaged when we take them down, we replace them. We bring them down to the VFW, they.
But they've been there since Memorial Day. They haven't-
Yeah, well, we normally leave them up from Memorial Day to just before we put the stuff up for the winter.
All right,
Yeah.
we should get better flags then, because they don't last that long. And I would hope the village board would pass a resolution that we would buy American-made flags at the time,
I have no problem with that.
because the flags that are there, definitely not American-made flags.
I watch Fox News, I'll find out that guy.
No, we got $31,000 here to spend on home and community, we could buy some flags.
We'll get some flags.
Yeah, legal.
We'll do that. Good idea. Anybody? Yes?
One quick question, and I hope this is not really an issue, but are you taking any steps with this veterans program to make sure there's no stolen valor?
I'm sorry, no what?
Stolen valor, where somebody submits an application to you, for somebody who actually wasn't a veteran?
Wasn't a veteran?
It's not a widespread thing, but it is a phenomenon around the country where people wear uniforms to
Yeah.
give the impression that they're military and they're not actually. And that's,
Well, most of-
it used to be a felony, a federal
Really?
felony, but it no longer is. But like I said, I don't think it's something that would happen, but
Yeah,
that
Yeah, I gotta
would
be
be, that would be
honest,
an embarrassment to the village.
the majority of pictures that we have, at least for the younger guys, these guys I even know personally, and I know they were in the service.
Yeah,
The other ones are Korean War, World War
Before your
II.
time, yeah.
So, you know, I would say there's no doubt, because everybody's got a uniform on when they're submitting their pictures. So, you know, that's a good point, but God, I would hope
Yeah,
not.
that would be an
I mean, that's-
embarrassment. That's tremendous.
That'd be a really, really, and I guess you were military, right?
No,
Oh, you weren't military?
No.
I'm just curious where you look for that information. Do you know, Paul?
go on YouTube.
I'm sorry?
Go on YouTube. Remember the guy who used to pick, the guy was a guy, I can't remember his name now, he used to pick out all the fake seals? People would say that they're a seal on their resume, and
Yeah.
some company would call him up. He had access to the database, and he was an ex-seal, and he would look it up and then call them up and start questioning them, like, you know,
Wow.
where did you serve? What, you know, what was your bud's class?
Yeah. Yeah, wow, okay. Interesting. Good point.
Scary world out there.
You ain't kidding, every day. But, okay. Anything else, board? Does anybody have anything? We have no need for an executive session, so could I have a motion to close the meeting?
Motion to close.
Have a second? All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you very much. Thanks, everybody, for
Thank you.
coming. Appreciate it. Have a great evening.
You too. Yes.
Having Chris quit?
No, he's on vacation.